Good evening. Welcome to another series of Introduction to Coaching Sports. My name is Dr. Thomas C. Reed, and I am the co-author of Introduction to Coaching Sports. And today I am very honored to have Mr. Nathaniel Farley Jr. out of Jacksonville, Florida. How you doing today, Nathaniel?
I'm thankful, man, and grateful. I'm excited about being on your show once again and finally seeing who you are.
For our viewing audience, we had Nathaniel on our Chicago Coaches Corner Blog Talk radio show. We usually do that from a Zoom perspective, but on that particular show, we didn't do it. But yeah, it is definitely a pleasure to see you. Before we get into these questions, man, about your outstanding career, I want to give our viewers a little bit about your history.
Okay.
Mr. Farley was born in Jacksonville, Florida. He has been a lifelong resident, student, educator, and youth mentor in the Jacksonville area. He's also a retired assistant principal in the Duval County school system. He did that for 7 years before retiring, actually, in 2002. He's been a teacher. He has volunteered in the various public school systems. This man has created physical education programs. He's been a coach, not only a track coach, a football coach, a wrestling coach, and has done just a plethora of things in Jacksonville. It's my understanding that when you talk about building athletic programs, when you talk about physical education program, he is the guru in the state of Florida, but particularly in Jacksonville. And that's coming from, a lot of your colleagues. And we can go on and on and on. I'll let him share some of that. But it is indeed an honor to have you on the Introduction to Coaching Sports show, Mr. Farley. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and a blessing. I really enjoyed talking with you and being on your show.
Thank you for being on the show. Well, let's get into some questions that are a little bit germane to my book in terms of things that coaches should do, understand, but I also want to, save some time, and we'll make some time to talk about, what inspired you to write your book. But my first question is, based on this vast experience that you have as a coach, what do you think are some important characteristics of building and starting a physical education program or an athletic program? And we'll say, at the high school level, you've been involved in that. What are some things that you think are important if someone was looking to, start a program, a PE or an athletic program? Share your experience.
Well, physical education program, you look at the county's requirements, and then you put those into starting a program. But first of all, and most of all, you pray. You seek wisdom. That's what I had to do when I was doing this, because you got to have some type of strength and some type of knowledge of what you're doing by seeking the one who can give you that knowledge, and that's the Lord Jesus Christ. That's my man. That's who I depend on first. Yeah, and then you because I knew nothing about wrestling, but starting a program, you got to find out the requirements, for that different district, county, or state. Then you make sure you cross all your T's and dot all your I's, and in order to make sure that everything is done correctly, and you make sure you have the right, let's say the right interest to start a school, you gotta try to have something special and different from all the other schools that'll make you stand out. See, and Ed White High School was the first one I opened in 1972. And they named it after the astronaut that got killed in the space trip. And they named it after him. All the halls were different satellite. They call them Sputniks, different satellite. The halls were named after those satellites and different Earth things that took place in the world.
Okay, well, let's talk about that for a minute. So, you started that program. How did you get the county, the district, involved and then who you were going to hire? How did you get that buy-in from the powers to be that allowed you to do it? Now, of course, obviously, I guess the foundation was, honoring this astronaut who unfortunately died tragically.
Right.
But what was that process like? Getting everybody else on board.
Well, see, I was a teacher at my high school, Stanton High School, and the superintendent sent the human resource person to get young teachers to open this new school. The principal came, when they sent me to the principal, see, he was the one, it was under him, and all of the other staff was already there except me. And, they were looking for, a minority person to put in that spot. So he came to my school and told me, you young and energetic, you can help this program at this new school. But I resisted first for a week because I said, if I'm that young and energetic, I need to stay here and help my high school. Okay. So after back and forth conversation, the word from him said, either you go or resign. So I told him what time I got to be there.
So basically they had already established the foundation. Right. They wanted to bring you on board because they knew you had the experience with physical education programs. I guess that, from what I'm hearing, they wanted to add some diversity at that school and very, very, how can I say, creatively enticed you to take that position.
That's what it was.
That's a beautiful study, and then the rest.
Yeah, so they gave me the option. They said there are 3 sports left. Now you're gonna be head coach of 2 of them, 2 out of the 3. You got to choose 2. So I said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I said, okay, I take wrestling and I'll take tennis.
Okay.
I knew nothing about wrestling, a little about tennis, because our high school, we had all those programs in our schools except wrestling. I didn't know nothing about wrestling. So what I had to do was pray, and pray.
Right.
Read, educate myself on what the sport is about, because I wasn't getting any assistance. Because by being the first African-American to start a wrestling program in the state of Florida, I didn't even know that until one of the kids that I helped coach from another school told me that, Coach, you were the first Black wrestling coach in the state of Florida. And he is now has his own, he used to wrestle in professional. He called him Thunderbolt and Larry Hamilton. So he is basically helping me put this program together, trying to help me with some sponsors to get the wrestling mat and things like that for the program that I'm starting at Edward Waters University, which was Edward Waters College.
Right.
That was my college.
I met my
wife. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, my wife did. So I'm indebted to the school.
Right. Absolutely. Well, it's a blessing that they're asking you for your guidance on that, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But But I want to talk about, a little bit about your book, and I want you to tell our viewing audience. I know how much Coach Small meant to you,
Yes.
and but what inspired you to write the book? And I kind of gave it away. I know we just talked about Coach Small, but what other inspiration did you get from having this man mentor you in the legacy that he left? Where did that inspiration come to write the book, your book, titled The Faith of the Blind Coach? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, I was speaking at a class reunion of one of my students, and they invited me to come and speak, and they told me to speak about Stanton and about Coach Small. So I did. I went to the class reunion, I spoke and talked about Stanton. In the book, it has the history, a brief history of Stanton in it. And then they talked about Coach Small. So my student, now he's a judge called Judge Brian Davis. He was the one that inspired me to write the book, because he said, if anybody know anything about Coach Small, it's you. And he inspired me in 2001 to write the book. So it took me 19 years, but I got it done. And he was the most inspirational person. And I wanted to do it, but I had no inspiration at the time. And all of a sudden, God put him in my space, and he motivated me to write the book. So that didn't want his legacy to die, because this man had done so much in the city of Jacksonville and the state of Florida by what he had done from 1934 up until he retired in 1973. And then he passed in 1975. But he was an inspiration to not only me, but he was an inspiration to all the students and students athletes that he had taught over the years. And I was just one of the ones that he latched on to, even after he had first tried to put me in the band. When I got there, because I was so small, I was weighing about 137 pounds. And he said, come here. He said, come in my office. I came in his office. He said, I want you to go around the hall, down the breezeway, and make a right. And I knew where that was. That was the band room. I said, oh, no, I ain't come in to go in the band. He said, no, you too small for this game. This is a big man's game. I said, well, just give me a chance. And then my junior high school coaches, which was his students that they played for him, was in my corner. See, as my father died in 78, they were like fathers to me. And they were inspiration to me. And my mom would tell me, go down there and talk to them coaches. Go down there. And because she wanted a man figure in my life.
Right.
After my father died in 7th grade. And those coaches were inspiration to him to say, try him. Let him try out. So Al Denson, which the NFL player, he was my idol. And he told me, you can't play wide receiver, you're too short. Go down there with the running backs. So wherever he told me to do, I was going to do it, because he was my idol over the years, because I watched him play for Stanton. And he would come back from Florida A&M and talk and teach and help coach the wide receivers. But he told me to go down to running backs, and I went down there. But Coach Small was a man who tell you just like it is. If he sees you doing something wrong, he gonna tell you it's wrong. He didn't have to curse you. He didn't have to talk loud. He's a mild-mannered person. He saw things about you that you didn't see in yourself, especially as a student, and then being an athlete for it. So he was my inspiration, and I wanted to emulate him. I really did. And that's what a lot of the things I did. He organized all of the programs at Stanton High School at one time, boys and girls sports, and the band, and the cheerleaders. He did it all. At halftime, he would go out, direct the band, and then get through directing the band and go back in there and finish finding out the halftime what he needed to do, get ready for the next third quarter. And he had a photostatic memory. So the reason why I named the book The Faith of the Blind Coach was because I was his eyes on the field. He put me in his home the summer for going into my junior year. And he said, call my mom and say, hey, I would like for him to come to my home during the summer every day. So she said, sure, keep him out the streets. Yeah, yes. I get him. So she got me there every morning. I was there on time. She made sure that. And I would go to his home. He would talk to me about things. Then we would go to the school. I would drive him to the school. And at that time, I had my license, so I could drive. So I would drive him to the school, and then we would sit in his office, and we would talk about different things to do. He was not totally blind, but he couldn't see. So he got Mr. Hargroves, which was one of the shop teachers, and he did plexiglass, and he drew holes in the plexiglass at different positions on the football field. And all I had to do was put that plexiglass on paper and go through the circles, and it formed the different offenses and different defenses of that era. And when the coaches would go scout, they already have that paperwork done, and all they had to do is put numbers of the different receivers and running backs and the quarterback number where they would be. So all of that, along with him teaching me, he said, all I need you to do is tell me the defensive front. At that time, you were playing a 5-man front or even man, odd man front or even man front. And that's what he told me. First down, tell me what defense they were in. And so now he changed his offensive back set from a split backfield to an I, because he learned that from Woody Hayes, because he got his master's degree from Woody Hayes from the Ohio State. And he put me in the eye. He said, all I need you to do is look at the center. If there is a man over our center, that's an odd man front. If there's nobody over our center, it's an even man front. Now you got to tell me when they were in one of those sets and what down they were in it. So I had to run the ball, look at the front, look at the down and distance, and tell him first down they went an odd man front, second down they went an even man front, third down they went an even man front. Back, and every third, fourth down I would have to come off the field and tell him what I saw. He had a photostatic memory that he remembered everything I told him for 2 quarters, along with his assistant coaches on the sideline. But I could see the true set of the defense and tell him whether he was head up or in the gap. So those are things that I learned, and I became a football coach, and not being arrogant, I was very successful in that, in doing that, because I was taught the game of football at a young age, and it kept me focused. And so that year, even though I had to do all of that, I was the leading rusher and the leading scorer in the Big 9 conference that year. I rushed for 1,146 yards.
And this is coming from a coach who, when he initially saw you, thought you were too small to play.
Right, exactly.
That's a blessing, and also a testament to your desire to stay with it, have that stick to itness, and we ought to keep pushing this thing. I know you and I have had an opportunity to develop a fellowship, but at some point in time, and it's these types of stories that make it to the big screen.
Obviously, I'm going to do a documentary.
Oh yeah, people really need to know about Coach Small. I've enjoyed reading the book and the stories, and there's so many other stories out there about people who have done things very similar to what Coach Small did. But when you add on that, the fact that he was almost blind,
Yes.
and figured out a way how to use someone like yourself, only a junior in high school, and educate you on how we're going to do this thing is truly an amazing story, man. My hats off to you, and I definitely enjoyed reading the book.
He also
So
organized the first Black Fishers Association and the first Coaches Association in the state of Florida.
oh, okay.
So he was
Yeah.
an advocate for the community too. So that's why he was honored by naming the ballpark after him, where Hank Aaron played in. And they're going to rename the field Hank Aaron in a few months. And but they're going to remain calling the stadium James P. Memorial Baseball Park.
Okay. Wow, what a blessing. That's a blessing. So, I've had different coaches on the show, but I haven't had a wrestling coach. And so, my third question is, if you had to give some guidelines just about coaching, wrestling coaching, because, in my book, the book is not just, I know it's, some of my friends say, well, it's a little basketball heavy, and that's probably because I've coached basketball for 33 years, but the book is really geared towards coaching sports, any sports. There are, well, I'll use the term golden nuggets in the book that I think are just foundations that you would use if you're coaching a team sport, if you're coaching individual sports. But now, just with your wrestling background, if we had someone that's viewing this podcast, what things are important about wrestling, about coaching wrestlers that you would share with our viewing audience from your professional perspective?
Well, I try to get a good assistant coach. That's the main thing. You got to have a good assistant coach who knows the game. And I do have one. His name is Tim Gilbert, and he's one of the top officials in the sport, and out of Georgia. They honored him in Hall of Fame. They inducted him in the Hall of Fame of Georgia, Atlanta, Duluth, Georgia. They had the Hall of Fame, and I went there. I made sure that God allowed me to get there, and I got there to be there for him. Because when I first started my second program at First Coast High School, he was official. He was the first Black official in the state of Florida. Young guy, energetic, and he came to me and said, well, would you like for me to come and help you coach? And I said, how much? I don't have no money for you. He said, no. I asked you, I'm volunteering. I said, well, great. I would love to have you. So he and I have been friends from that point. That was in 1990 when I first met him. And we have been together. And then all of a sudden, Lord, this put it on my heart, because I had prayed to coach in the college level. I said, Lord, this is the only area that I haven't coached in. And it came about. And I say, well, okay, I can start this wrestling program. So I volunteered and told him that I would like to start a wrestling program at the school at River Water. And I called him. I said, hey, man, I'm finna start a wrestling program. Would you mind helping me? He said, yes. So I invited him, talked to him, and he didn't have his degree yet. Even though he had went to the military, had done all these things, all these kinds of different events and activities that he has done. I say, man, well, let's try to get your degree. So he said yes. So he's getting all his transcripts together. He's an engineer, and he was getting all his classes, the transcripts, that's what it is. transcript together to send to Edgewater so he can be a student coach.
Oh,
and my
okay.
assistant coach.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, what a story. And what motivated you to start this program at Edward Waters University? I know we talked a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about this college. You know, how many students did you say that they have there at Edward Waters?
Okay, right now, the last count I heard was 1,200.
Okay.
And that's one of the largest groups since we began. Now we just was named the university, but we were a college in 1866 in the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We one of the oldest HBCU schools in the state of Florida.
Okay.
And we wanted to, because I played football for Edward Waters too. And then after they cut football out, I got into the choir. We were the first African-American choir to sing in Town Hall in New York City when I was in the choir. So that's how I met my wife, because I had been trying to date her and she was running from me. And then I was singing the Temptations called I Wish It Would Rain. And that's how I met her, because I came off the stage and grabbed her hand and started singing to her. And boy, she was put in my hands after that. We've been married 49 years now, this past August.
So congratulations, man. That's really a blessing. And I'm really looking forward to finding how this wrestling program is going to evolve at Edward Waters. I know it's going to happen. We talked a little about, you said now last time we talked, you said you had how many wrestlers that are interested?
I have 12 boys and 2 girls.
Okay.
We're going to try to do both programs if we can.
Right.
Yeah, because now the rule states that the girls has to have their own program, their own team.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to separate them and make it and follow the rules, the guidelines of everything that's required.
Like a male and female. And you said that, I think also, if my memory serves me correctly, you said that you have to be 2 years as a club program first, right?
Right, exactly.
And,
right.
and after the 2 years.
Under the student activity right now, under Miss Gabrielle Williams. She's the director of the student activities at the college, at the university, university. Okay. I love saying that word, because we used to call ourselves KRU, Kings Road University, when I was going there. So we thought we had the mindset that we were already a university, in our mindset. And so that's how we handle things. And now it has become a reality.
That's a blessing.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Farley, Nathaniel Farley Jr., I thank you for your time, sir. I hope you and I will be able to continue to communicate throughout this. I'm not going to call it a venture. I'm going to call it a blessing that you're going to bestow upon Edward Waters University with the wrestling program. And anything I can do to be of help, I'd be happy to do so. But I'm glad to have had you on the show. This probably won't be the last time. I know my Chicago Coaches Corner group want to have you and Lawrence back, and so we get Lawrence acclimated to the Zoom. We'll have both of you back on to share, one, what has gone, how the program has evolved, the wrestling program, and talk a little bit more about the things that you are doing in Jacksonville, Florida. Appreciate your time, sir. And
I'm looking for some sponsors now. I'm looking for some sponsors to help me with this program.
They'll help you with the program. Well, I know you have. I know you connected with a friend of mine, a friend of ours now, Dr. Phil Withers.
Yes, sir.
He is a guru. When it comes to doing sponsorships and his knowledge and his connections, that is a good place a good place to start, a good person to start with, I should say,
Yeah.
because he definitely has the ideologies of how you fundraise and raise money.
Right.
Sir,
Like we talk.
it has definitely been a pleasure, and we look forward to many more conversations here, man, in the near future.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being a
Thank you
part of
for
Introduction
having
to
me
Coaching.
again. God bless you.
You too. But before we leave, tell our viewing audience where they can find this book.
Okay, the book is in Barnes and Nobles and Amazon online,
Okay.
and you can order it from there. You know, that's
Okay.
it. That's the only two places that the publishing company has a relationship with. My publishing company, and for this book, it was out of New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, Newman Springs, New Jersey.
Okay.
And Newman Springs Publishing Company.
All righty. And in conjunction with that, Introduction to Coaching Sports is also available on Barnes and Noble, iTunes, Google Play, readerhouse.com, and also Amazon as well. And again, thank you, sir, and have a blessed day. And we look forward to many more conversations.
Yes, sir. You too. Same to you. Be blessed.
You too.